All right, guys, welcome to the Chokehold Chat. We are going to be doing a UFC 320 preview. I'm sorry I haven't been posting as much. Just to let you in on a little bit of some personal stuff before we get into it. I shredded my knee apart on Sunday at jiu-jitsu practice. Your boy's a little depressed. But we're going to keep keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it. All right. I kind of feel like you guys ever seen The Hateful Eight? That Quentin Tarantino movie? It was like, my horse stepped in a gopher hole, fucking broke his leg. Had to shoot it, had to put her down. That's how I feel, I've been an athlete my whole life and stuff, and my freaking leg's busted. I gotta wait to get an MRI. The x-ray was all right, but knee is all swelled up. Anyways, that's enough about me. I will persevere. Anyways, so UFC 320. We'll go from the early prelims to the main card. This card is good. Like last week we were a little starved, but this card is good. So the first fight of the night, curtain jerker, Veronica Hardy, Dan Hardy's wife, is going to fight Brogan Walker. I think Brogan Walker is the girl from The Ultimate Fighter. I think she was a finalist there, and she lost to, I think, Killer Miller. Yeah, that's the same girl. Yeah, she lost to Killer Miller. But anyway, so it's a pretty good stylistic fight. I like the matchup for both of them. It's kind of been a while since we've seen either of them, so but it should be a pretty entertaining fight, especially for a ladies' fight. And then Austin Vadefort, Mr. Van Zant fighting Ramiz Brahimaj. Ramiz is tough, though. I mean, they're not giving Vanderford any cupcakes, so we'll see how he does. Punahele Soriano fighting Nikolai Veretinnikov. Punahele just became a dad. I saw that on the embedded. That was pretty nice. So I'm just going to be rooting for him, just because I'm a dad of small children too, and girls. So I'll be rooting for him, for all the girl dads out there. And then okay, so the next one, Patchy Mix versus Jacob Wilkals. I know I'm butchering that, but Patchy Mix versus Jacob. Jacob is a KSW champion, and Patchy Mix just had that horrible performance. So if Patchy Mix wins this fight, what are we going to learn? Nothing. We're not going to learn anything, because this KSW guy is a KSW guy. He's not a UFC guy. So we don't know yet if he's UFC caliber. And the same thing about Patchy Mix. We don't know yet if Patchy Mix is UFC caliber. What will we learn if Patchy Mix wins? Almost nothing. If he blows him out of the water, that's a good sign. If he loses, we will definitely know that he's not UFC caliber, especially if this KSW guy can't go on a run on the UFC. If he goes on a run, like a RDR type guy, then we'll know, okay, the loss isn't that big of a deal. But for Patchy Mix, they're giving this guy not a ranked guy, not anybody that's been a UFC household name. They're giving him a newcomer, a debutant. Pretty weird. So we'll see how that goes. And then Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos. Okay, should be all right. A couple of these fights are, pretty good fights. Should be all right. The next one that I'm pretty interested in is Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Muniz. So I remember a couple years ago when Andre Muniz armbarred Jacare and broke his arm like a baseball bat, in that super deep armbar transition where you don't have like the other arm in under the armpit, I don't know. That's kind of getting technical a little bit, but just a super deep armbar transition where basically, like in jiu-jitsu, when you're doing this with your partner, you got to be super careful. I always, got to be super careful, because if you fall straight back on it, you just snap it. And obviously they're in a fight, and Muniz just snapped Jacare's stuff. And I remember back then, before a couple of the losses that Muniz has taken, I was like, this guy is the dark horse of the division. Don't, Adesanya doesn't want to see this guy, blah, 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 this and that. It turned out not being true, but, at the time it seemed pretty plausible. had pretty decent striking and then just out of this world ground technique. Shabazian is the same stuff, right? Like, people had super high hopes for him. Not that Muniz had like a hype train behind him or anything, but Shabazian definitely had the hype train behind him. And, it's taken a couple losses. The gas tank has been kind of an issue, or at least, kind of a thing out there. But should be a pretty good fight for both of them. I'm kind of interested to see how that fight goes. Like I said, guys, this is an awesome fight card. We're getting spoiled by the UFC on 320. We're getting spoiled. Atiba Gauthier just beat up Valentin, the guy that was on the previous Ultimate Fighter. Same thing. He's fighting a debutant. So what are we gonna learn? Not much. But if he styles on him, we'll learn that the other guys are ready for the UFC. So Vinez. Anyways, we're not worried about what we're going to learn from these guys, because what everybody's waiting for is the main card, okay? Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer versus Abus Magomedov. We saw Abus lose to Sean Strickland a couple years ago now. Kind of just, the gas tank. The gas tank failed him. Joe Pyfer, we saw him get tested by Hermansson and lost that fight. And for Pyfer, I really like Pyfer. I really, really like Pyfer. I do. I think he's, body bags. It's great. Big power. Big, I like him a lot. But that last fight kind of, I know this Pyfer gets pretty salty about anybody who has anything to say about him. But it's like, I'm your friend, big dog. I got to tell you, I not that I'm his friend, but if I was your friend, I would tell you got to put those combos together, man. You can't, just one shot hunting for the big KO, especially against Kelvin Gastelum. Big old Mexican head, big old head like a fire hydrant. You're not gonna knock him out, dude. You gotta put combos together. And he has the technique to do it. He's so crispy with that boxing. Just let us see some of that beautiful boxing and box up Abus. I think Pyfer can beat him. I think he's got the tools to beat him. But he's got to put combinations together, walk forward, pressure, vintage Joe Pyfer style. Just disrespect this man. Disrespect Abus. Go over there. I think you're better than him. Prove that you're better than him. Go beat him up. Okay? The next fight, Josh Emmett versus Yusuf Zalal. So Josh Emmett, right? Contender, fought for an interim title. Been around for a very long time. Emmett is good, man. Emmett is good, but, Yusuf Zalal, he's good too. He's real good. When he made his run back into the UFC, he's proved that he's UFC caliber. Against Calvin Kattar, he kind of had to style around him and point fight and jump around, and he got a lot of shit for that. I hate to tell you guys, if you're a Yusuf Zalal fan, or you want to see him do better, he's going to have to do the same thing against Josh Emmett, because you cannot stand in front of this man. You can't. Look what he did to Bryce Mitchell. Look what he's done to a bunch of dudes, basically vintage Josh Emmett style. You gotta dance around this guy. You gotta point fight him. And for Josh Emmett, you gotta cut the cage off. You gotta let those combos flow, and you gotta knock him out, I like Josh Emmett too. I've been seeing him train with Dillashaw for a while. I was hearing on the Jackson podcast that he was training with Dillashaw, so I do like Josh Emmett too, especially with that little salt in the ginger beard there. It's pretty sweet. So I will be going for Josh Emmett for the old guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zalal kind of point fights around him. The next fight, third fight down, Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree. I saw on the UFC Embedded, the newest one, that the top comment was Yuri running without breathing is Tony Ferguson type shit, for real. It really is. And I love Yuri. I love an eccentric. He's awesome. Let's go for that. I also like Khalil. A lot. He's powerful, great striking, and they are going to strike. So I don't see how this thing is going to go 3 rounds. But for me, it's a coin toss. I have no clue who's going to win. Both giant power. Yuri's striking is definitely more unpredictable, spinning elbows, spinning attacks, just throwing from hands on the hips, whereas Khalil's got that more conventional Muay Thai style, you know, training in Thailand and stuff. But damn, am I excited. I really like John Wood and those guys over there, so I kind of want Khalil to win, but you know, this is the one where I can't really be mad. It's just like a couple weeks ago, Diego Lopez and John Silva. Whoever wins, I'm going to be happy for. Whoever loses, I'm going to be sad for. I like both these guys. I like Roundtree. I like Prohaska. And really, who's going to win is us. The fans are going to win because it's going to be a great fight. All right, so, you know, just before I even talk about any of this, I'm a big Merab fan, Dvalishvili. I love the guy. I've loved him since Aljo was champ, since they were, you know, boys and they had their bromance and stuff, and the UFC was mad at Aljo and Merab. I've already told you guys how much I like Aljo. I love Merab, strong style, you know, strong island. Those guys are awesome. So I do have a bias towards Merab. However, Corey Sandhagen might be the toughest matchup stylistically in the entire division other than Umar Nurmagomedov. Corey Sandhagen, though, I feel the way that he can win is the way that Sean O'Malley could win, where he snipes him, puts him down, and, you know, really just like a KO shot. But Corey Sandhagen has shown that he is perfectly capable of doing that. Spinning wheel kicks, jumping knees, and KOing guys flat. Okay, he's dangerous, just like O'Malley. However, he does offer something that is also dangerous in the grappling department, whereas he's trained with those 50-50 guys. He's a big leg locker. He just leg locked Davison, popped his knee out. Ugh, going through the same shit. Horrible, right? So he is a leg locker. Merab is a wrestler. I'm a wrestler, typically anti-leg lock dudes. I'm sure Merab has been training leg locks. I'm sure he's trained them before. But, you know, best case scenario is to clear that knee line, get your leg out of there, and just continue to apply heavy pressure and do what Merab does. I think that the striking gap can be closed because Corey obviously is a much better striker than Merab. But the gap closes because of the threat of wrestling. Merab can feint takedowns and can throw takedowns in the mix and clinching and all this stuff, and it in turn makes his striking much better. We saw it against Sean O'Malley. We saw it against Umar. We've seen it against a lot of his opponents. Sorry for the variance in sound, guys. The previous video got turned off. But anyways, for Merab to win, Merab just got to do what Merab does. And then for the main event, I think it kind of mirrors the co-main, where Ankalaev just has more tools and Pereira only has one way to win, and that's to knock him out. But Ankalaev has showed that if he's moving backwards, it's very hard to do. And Ankalaev also proved his striking. A lot of people thought he was just talking that BS, but he's a very elite striker. He's the champ now, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, that's the breakdown, the preview for UFC 320. Talk to you guys soon.